Maran Mohanju ki jai, Nitil Pavishtom Vishnupad, Ashatara Shatashma Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Narayan Goswami Maharaj Śrīla Gurudev ki jai. Nitil Pavishtom Vishnupad, Ashatara Shatashma Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pavishtom Vishnupad, Ashatara Shatashma Śrīla Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Pavishtom Vishnupad, Ashatara Shatashma Śrīla Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pavishtom Vishnupad, Ashatara Shatashma Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Pavishta Maha Bhagavat Śrīla Gopisharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pavishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Nitil Pavishta Bhakti Bhagirat Saptam Goswami Śrīla Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura ki jai. Tadiya Shubha Tirubhav Titi ki jai. Nitil Pavishta Maha Bhagavat, Nitil Pavishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupa Nuga Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadasha Raghunath Sharda Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Naam Acharya Śrīla Haridas Ṭhākura ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadādhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Bharata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kunda ki jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Gadādhara Pandit ki jai. Tadiya Shubha Tirubhav Titi ki jai. Shri Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura ki jai. Tadiya Shubha Tirubhav Titi ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Hari Bo. Dandavat Pranams. So, oh, I thought I forgot to plug this in. Let me plug this and make it sound a little better. You'll have to forgive me, I'm a little bit out of it today. I had a really exhausting day yesterday, and I don't know, I'm just feeling super spaced out. But so today I thought we could read songs by Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. There's one song, Ha Ha Mor Gora Kishore, which is by Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, and it has Gadādhara Pandit in it. I thought it'd be nice to sing. And then also there's a song, how does it go? Kota Bhaktivinoda Shri Gora Swajan. It's a song in separation from Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, and it goes through so many of his glories. And then there's a very beautiful and very technical article by my Param Gurudev, Śrīla Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj. I thought maybe we could read that. And we'll just see, we'll sing different things, read different things until 9 o'clock. So for an hour. Let me share my screen now. Dandavat Pranam Rup Manjari. So, I think first we can sing Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya by Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, and then after we will sing this Ha Ha Mor Gora Kishore. Gurudev Kripa. Oops, I made 2 spaces. O Gurudev, O Kripa Bindu Diya, Karo He Dase, Trinapekshayate Hina. Since there's not much time, I'm just going to sing it once through, not lead in response. Actually, I feel like singing a different melody. I'm going to sing. O Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya diya karo e dase trinapekshayate sakala sahane abala diya karo nijamane sprihahina gurudev kripa bindu diya karo etase trinapekshayate sakale saman korite shakati deho nata jata jata tabe to gaibo hari nama suke aparadha habe Gurudev kripa bindu diya karo etase trinapekshayate kabe hena kripa alabhiyaye jan kritartha hoibe nata Shakti buddhi ami ati din karo more atma sata Gurudev kripa bindu diya karo etase trinapekshayate jagata vichare kichu nahi paay tomar karuna sara jagata vichare kichu nahi paay tomar karuna sar karuna na hole Kandiya, Kandiya, Karuna na hole Kandiya, Kandiya, Prana na rakhibo Ara, Prana na rakhibo Ara Gurudev kripa bindu diya karo etase Trinapekshayate Jaya Gurudeva 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 Jaya Gurudeva 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 Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Bhakti Vinod Bhakti Vinod Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura Bhakti Vinod Jaya Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura Bhakti Vinod Bhakti Vinod Jaya Bhakti Vinod And then now we'll sing Ha Ha More Gora Kishore. Ha Ha More. It is. Make the text a little bigger. Actually, I'm going to make this a lot bigger. Then, sorry, 1 second. Let's read the translation first also this time. Okay. O my youthful Gaur, when will you mercifully reveal yourself to me in the forest of Godrum, O thief of hearts? You are situated in Ananda Shukada Kunj with Sri Gadādhara Paṇḍita at your left. With a golden luster and curly hair, you wear the fine dress of a dancer. So inside Ananda Shukada Kunj, Gadādhara Paṇḍita and Mahaprabhu
standing together, but then as I gaze upon you, Shri Shri Radha Madhav will appear and brilliantly illuminate the scene. Accompanied by all of their Sakis, they will dance with enchanting garlands adorning their necks. Ananga Manjari, feeling compassion, will take this maidservant by the hand and lovingly offer me to the divine couple. I shall then behold their sweetness to the full satisfaction of my eyes. Let me just check everything's working okay? Okay. Cool. Gora Kishora Gora Kishora Kabe daya kori Shikodruma bane Kabe daya kori Shikodruma bane Dekha dibe mana chora Dekha dibe mana chor Ahamor Gora Kishor Ahamor Gora Kishora Ananda Sukhada Kunjera Bhitare Gadādhare Bame Kori Ananda Sukhada Kunjera Bhitare Gadādhare Bame Kori Kanchana Varana Chanchara Chikora Kanchana Varana Chanchara Chikora Natana Suvesha Dhori Natana Suvesha Dhori Ahamor Gora Kishor Dekhite dekhite Shri Radha Madhava Rupete koribe yala Dekhite dekhite Shri Radha Madhava Rupete koribe ala Sakhi gana sange koribe natana Sakhi gana sange koribe natana Galete mohana mala Galete mohana mala Gora Kishora Ahamor Gora Kishora Ananga Manjari Sadaya hohiya Edasi karete dhori Ananga Manjari Sadaya hohiya Edasi karete dhori Duhe nivedibe Duhara madhuri Duhe nivedibe Duhara madhuri Heri bonayana bhori Heri bonayana bhori চোর কবে দয়া করে শিখদ্রম পানে কবে দয়া করি শিখদ্রম পানে দেখা দিবে মানা চোরা দেখা দিবে মানা চোরা গৌরা কিশোর জয় গৌর গদাধর জয় গৌর গদাধর গৌর গদাধর জয় গৌর গদাধর জয় গৌর গদাধর গৌর গদাধর গৌর গদাধর জয় গৌর গদাধর জয় জয় রাধা মাধব রাধা মাধব রাধে জয় রাধা মাধব রাধা মাধব রাধে জয় ভক্তি বিনোদ ভক্তি বিনোদ ভক্তি বিনোদ ঠাকুর ভক্তি বিনোদ জয় ভক্তি বিনোদ ঠাকুর ভক্তি বিনোদ ভক্তি বিনোদ ঠাকুর ভক্তি বিনোদ All right, so we'll read some articles by our ācāryas, and then after we'll sing this really great song. How does it go? Kathā Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura Swajan. But where is it? Okay, here. So yeah, there's a Raise of the Harmonist issue published in 2014. It was the last Raise of the Harmonist ever published, number 26. If you just type in Raise of the Harmonist number 26 on Google search, then you can find this magazine if you ever want to download it. And there are all these articles. 2014 was the 100th disappearance day of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. So, actually, let's sing the Bhaktivinoda Dashakam before we start, and then we can sing Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura Swajan. So I'll read the translation first. He is the mercy incarnation of Sri Chaitanya Dev, the unending and ever-increasing ocean of compassion, and he is the embodiment of the very potency of Sri Gaur Hari. Will that divine personality, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, again become visible to my eyes? Will that divine personality, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, who is the dearmost follower of Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, who is one at heart with Śrīla Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, and who is composed of Sri Gaur Hari's compassion, forever be held within my remembrance? Will that divine personality, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, who, by his personal conduct, established the ideal method of widely broadcasting the chanting of the holy name, which is a wish-fulfilling gem, will that Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura forever remain within the temple of my memory? Will that divine personality, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, who manifested the glories of Sri Harinam free from offenses, and who thus bestowed the greatest benevolence upon the living entities, forever alight the throne of my remembrance? As he revealed the hidden appearance place of Sri Gaur Hari, the saints danced with joy, whereas the miscreants displayed their dance of wickedness by being filled with dread. Will that divine personality, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, who is an eternal associate of Sri Gaur Hari, forever become the object of my remembrance? Will that divine personality, Bhakti Bhagirat, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, who has delivered the entire world by casting away all obstacles on the path of bhakti and bringing forth the current of the Ganges river of bhakti, forever become the object of my meditation? Will that divine personality, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, who has propagated the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu throughout the world, who has proclaimed the glories of Sri Guru and Vaishnavas, and who has demonstrated the exemplary method for chanting Sri Nam, forever remain within my heart? Will that divine personality, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, who embodies Prayojan Tattva, who is accompanied by Srila Gaurkishoras Babaji Maharaj, who embodies Sambandha Tattva, along with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, who embodies Abhideya Tattva, forever come into my heart? Will that divine personality, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, who has distributed spiritual consciousness, that is Sri Chaitanya, to all living entities by publishing Sri Chaitanya Shikshamrita, Sri Sajjana Toshani, Sri Harinam Chintamani, and Jaiva Dharma, be forever held within my heart? On the dark moon day of the month of Ashad, that divine personality, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, whose form is non-different from Sri Gadādhara Pandit, the potency of Sri Gaur Hari, gave up his pastimes in this material world on the very same day that Sri Gadādhara Pandit gave up his worldly pastimes. Will he ever again come before our vision? Okay, let me get the tongue out. Oops. Uh-oh. Ananda Karunya Gunakara Shri Chaitanya Deva Sadayavatara Sagora Shaktir Bhavita Punakim Padam Drishor Bhakti Vinora Deva Shrimad Jagannatha Prabhu Priyoya Ekatmako Gora Kishora Kena Shri Gora Karunya Mayo Bhavet Kim Nityam Smrito Bhakti Vinora Deva Shri Nama Chintamani Sampracharar Adarsamacharam Vidodadhoya Sajagaruka Smriti Mandire Kim Nityam Bhaver Bhakti Vinora Deva Nama Paradai Rahitasya Namno Mahatma Jatam Prakatam Vidaya Jive Dayalur Bhavita Smrita Kim Kritasano Bhakti Vinora Deva Gorasya Gora Prakatalayasya Gorasya Gora Prakatalayasya Sato Sato Harsha Gunatyayoscha Prakasha Ko Gora Jano Bhavet Kim Smrityaspadam Bhakti Vinora Deva Anirasya Vignan Iha Bhakti Ganga Pravahanena Krita Sarvaloka Bhagirata Nitya Diyang Padang Kim Paviraso Bhakti Vinora Deva Vishveshu Chaitanya Kathā Prachari Mahatma Sangshri Guru Vaishnavana Namagraha Darsha Iha Smrita Kim Chitte Bhaver Bhakti Vinora Deva Prayojanam San Abhideya Bhakti Siddhanta Vanya Samamatra Gaura Kishora Sampanta Yutta Bhavet Kim Chitte Gato Bhakti Vinora Deva Shikshamritam Sajjanam Toshanim Cha Chintamanим Chatra Sajaiva Dharmam Prakasha Chaitanya Prado Bhavet Kim Chitte Drito Bhakti Vinora Deva Ashara dashe hani gora shakti Gadādhara bina tanurja hoya prapancha lilam ihano bhavet kim drishya punar bhakti vinoda deva jaya bhakti vinod jaya bhakti vinod Ṭhākura bhakti jaya bhakti vinod Ṭhākura bhakti vinod. Just checking everything's still working. Okay. Oh yeah, Bhakti Deshik Ācārya Maj. That's who wrote it. Oh, thanks for posting the link, Rup Manjari. Okay, here's Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. So, I'm not going to read this because it's too long, but this is a really awesome article. Wait, somebody just sent me a message. Is it to do with this? No. Okay. Okay, let's read this. This is a letter by Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura Prabhupada. The Manobhishta of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura and the impediments to fulfilling it. This is written by Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura Prabhupada, 1st April 1926 in Kolkata, Sri Gaudiya Math. With due address, and this is to those who were so-called followers of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. One evening, during the first half of the month of Vaishak, April-May, in 1320, that is 1914 AD, at Bhakti Bhavan in Kolkata, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura made his prophecy in very clear words right before me. He wrote, "In due course of time, the contaminated seed of the Rupa Kaviraj Aprasampradaya named Atibadi shall be transmitted to you people, and will make the hollow tree of your heart the residence of frightful animals such as snakes, whose poison destroys pure devotional service." Then Srila Saraswati Thakur says, "I am so unfortunate that at that time I protested against this statement, saying, 'Those people are proud to be your followers. They shall never engage in openly organizing themselves to preach against the ideal of service to Sri Hari as taught by you. And in case they do so, I shall obstruct them with all my might, without even caring for my own life.' Thinking that all of you would be aggrieved at heart to hear this conversation, I did not tell you about my vow until now. Though the people's names were not listed, though blank, 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 and so forth. Through blank, 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 and so forth, you have already instigated all of these acts, and at each and every step till date, you have acted to obstruct the fulfillment of Bhaktivinoda's cherished transcendental desires. Therefore, Shuddha Bhakti, pure devotional service, and Śrīla Ṭhākura Mahāshaya himself never have any relation whatsoever with an Apasampradaya such as yours. I have been proclaiming this very loudly from the outset. You have not listened to that, and now you have wandered off track. I will write down some of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's cherished desires that he personally expressed to me. 1. Those who take pride in their worldly aristocracy due to not achieving a true aristocracy or noble birth as servants of Bhagavan, state that even a genuine Vaishnav's birth in a family of lower caste is the result of his past sinful activities. By saying this, they are committing an offense. Therefore, in order to counteract the words of such people, the divine social system, Daiva Varnashram Dharma, which is based on one's disposition and qualities, must be established. The endeavor to establish it, which you have already started, is to be known as true service to the Vaishnavas. Due to the absence of the preaching of Shuddha Bhakti Siddhanta, the pure conclusive truths of devotional service, detrimental impressions of femininity, and education in immorality have been fostered as bhakti by the men and women of Apasampradayas such as Sahajya and Ativadi. And what's the impressions of femininity? What's that meaning? That's referring to equating transcendental sentiments with mundane femininity. Always demolish all such erroneous siddhanta by engaging in the preaching of Shuddha Bhakti Siddhanta, the actual principles of pure devotional service and in pure conduct. 3. As soon as possible, you must try to organize Sri Navadvip Dham Parikrama. Through this activity alone, everyone in this world shall be able to achieve Krishna Bhakti. You should make special endeavor to ensure that service to Sri Mayapur is permanently established and that it becomes more radiant day by day. Solely by establishing book publishing, preaching the Bhakti Granthas, devotional scriptures, and by preaching through Namhata, rather than performing Nirjan Bhajan in a secluded place, true service can be rendered to Sri Mayapur. By performing Nirjan Bhajan for your own self, do not damage the preaching or service to Sri Mayapur. After my departure from this world, you should reverentially engage in the service of Sri Mayapur. Make a special endeavor to do this. This is my specific instruction to you. Ill-mannered people such as blank are never able to perform bhakti, and you should never seek their advice. You should neither inform them of this nor let them come to know of it. My wholehearted endeavor was to reveal that the purport of the scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam, Shat Sandarbha, Vedanta Darshan, etc. declare only Shuddha Bhakti and nothing else. You should accept responsibility for that task. By establishing a school for spiritual education in Sri Mayapur, the glory of Sri Mayapur will be enhanced. You should never try to gain knowledge or earn wealth with the objective of gratifying your own senses. Rather, you should only engage in these activities with the objective of serving the Supreme Lord. Never take bad association to gain wealth or with any other selfish motive. Today I am stopping here. So that's the end of the instructions now. Today I am stopping here. I am going elsewhere in the service to the Vaishnavas, and shall reply to the remaining part of your letter upon my return. Grieved by your distress, Shri Siddhanta Saraswati. Okay, now I wanted to read this article. This is a very technical article, but I think it's, it's by my Param Gurudev, and anyways, yeah, I just want to read it. So pretty long also, my God. Anyhow, let's just get through it. Okay, glorification of the exalted Ācārya Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda on his disappearance day by Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj. Oops. The inclination to remember Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura and the mode of separation. The Satchidananda Vastu is the truly abiding substance composed of pure eternal reality, cognizance, and bliss. Let me just check the comments really quick. Okay. If Satchidananda Vastu remains hidden from our view, from the ordinary people of this plane, we will not be able to conceive of it, and it will be beyond our revelation. Indeed, that which remains beyond our vision we describe as being in the unmanifest state. But even though unmanifest, the Shuddha, the truly abiding substance comprised of pure existence, Sattva Vastu, is never absent in any way. Only when our vision of its absence is itself absent, will we perceive the ultimate object of attainment, the Sadhya Vastu, and describe it as eternal, Nitya, and primeval, Sanatan. The Sat Chid Ananda Vastu is indeed eternal and primeval. There is certainly no better revelation of its meaning than Sat Chid Ananda Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. Yeah, I've seen from all of our ācāryas, they always put this emphasis on Sat Chid Ananda. With Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura specifically. It's interesting why there's so much emphasis on that. I guess that's because that was his title also, that was his name. Anyway. Although we constantly have all kinds of discussions about him, on this day, feeling separation from Satchidananda, we have engaged in remembering some of the especially unique features of his pastimes. Such remembrance is a form of service to his lotus feet. Śrīla Ṭhākura concealed himself from ordinary vision on the new moon day of Ashad, 35 years ago today. He disappeared in the year 1914. Reflecting upon the transcendental Satchidananda Vastu is only possible through Shabda. We are constantly hearing and discussing the following principles. Aprakrita Vastu nahe prakrita gochar. Veda Puranete e kahe nirantar. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 9:194. Perception of spiritual objects is not within the range of the material sense organs, and contemplating them is beyond the range of the mind. The Vedas and Puranas proclaim this repeatedly. Krishna Surya Sama Maya hoy andakar. Jaha Krishna taha nahi mayar adhikar. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 22:31. Krishna is like the sun, and Maya is darkness. Wherever Krishna is present, the influence of Maya cannot remain. Although these statements have become embedded in our minds, we have not realized them in our hearts. There is a process, a sadhan, by which the eternal entity is revealed within the heart. But through the statements just mentioned, we are being warned to first consider carefully the proper methodology of that spiritual practice. One who initiates discussions about Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura with words or statements made of sound vibrations that have emerged from the material sky is acting in a manner exactly opposite to Śrīla Ṭhākura's teachings. My consciousness will never be capable of revealing Śrīla Ṭhākura's identity through language, unless my knowledge of this mundane plane, idam gyan, is subdued by the knowledge of that transcendental plane, tad gyan. Therefore, although it is beneficial for me to remain silent as long as my knowledge of this mundane plane dominates, Śrīla Ṭhākura's words, which are full of assurance, are constantly inspiring us to discuss this subject matter. He has made it clear that the divine truth can only be deliberated on through words, through Shabda. The nature of the Shabda Tattva referred to by Śrīla Ṭhākura. In this context, Shabda must not be taken to mean the words that have their origin in the material sky, nor does it mean the words emanating from the lips, teeth, and throats of expert grammarians. It is neither the Shabda that the empiric scientists define as being produced by periodic waves of compressed air, nor the words of men who simply give credence to philosophers based on popularity. This Shabda is absolutely beyond the four faults of the senses, and that is Brahma, illusion, or the tendency to commit to the wrong conclusion based on appearances; Pramad, the tendency to make errors in general; Vipralipsa, the tendency to deceive as characterized by baseless denial of something beyond the senses; and Karanapadav, the insufficiency and limitations of the senses. So this Shabda is absolutely beyond these four faults. It is eternal, Nitya, pure, Shuddha, absolutely complete, Purna, liberated, Mukta, and immortal, Ati Martya. It is the unquestionable source of all knowledge, Veda, and the perfect message received in the succession of bona fide gurus, Amnai Vani. For the purpose of emancipating souls who are conditioned by ignorance, the Badajivas, this lineage of the transcendental message, this Vani Parampara, awakens within the core of their hearts, which at that time are supremely pure, Vishuddha. In the hearts of those blessed by destiny, this message has awakened and enabled them alone to become factually established in all Siddhanta, the consummate truth. Certainly, the most prominent speciality of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's appearance was manifesting Siddhanta Vani. And there's a footnote here. It will be explained that Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is the intended meaning of Siddhanta Vani. My Param Gurudev, lots of times he would speak very cryptic messages, and it would have a dual meaning in it. So, thus he who is Nadia Prakash, who revealed the birthplace of Mahaprabhu, was also Siddhanta Vani Prakash, he who manifested the embodiment of Siddhanta Vani. So this is one of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's most prominent speciality of his appearance, was manifesting to us Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And his unique teachings, his Siddhanta Vani, the Bhaktivinoda Dhara, the conclusions. So these two things, his conclusions and also Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Śrīla Thakur is worshipful because he played the central role in revealing ancient Nadia. Śrīla Thakur Mahashaya is indeed known as Nadia Prakash, for he revealed the actual birthplace of Nadia Shashi, the moon of Nadia, Shriman Mahaprabhu, where the Supreme Lord enacted his early pastimes. Therefore, we lovingly serve Nadia Prakash by establishing and worshipping his deity form. Śrīla Thakur is present in his eternal deity form in the Sevya Sevak Bhav at Swananda Sukara Kunj within Sri Namhata, the marketplace of the holy name, or the Aprakrit Sarup Ganj. And there he is, that's his Vigraha there in Swananda Sukara Kunj. We're going to be doing a program there tomorrow. Situated thus, he is reminding us, Mukta api lilaya vigraham kritva bhagavantam bhajante. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 24:112. Oh yeah, and Sevya Sevak Bhav means in his mood as being the savior, being served, and his mood as a servant. Or the object of one's own service, or the personality to whom one renders service, is known as a savior. And the servant, anyways, you get the point. So, this can be understood in two ways. In the mood of a sevak, Śrīla Thakur is worshipping Savior, Sri Bhagavan. Or, 2. Śrīla Thakur is accepting our service in the mood of Savior, and simultaneously serving his worshipful Lord in the mood of a sevak. That's what this means, in his eternal deity form in Sevya Sevak Bhav. Okay, so this verse we just read, even liberated souls accept divine forms so that they can participate in the transcendental pastimes of Sri Bhagavan and serve him. Thakur Bhaktivinoda is the progenitor of Siddhanta Vani. The transcendental message, the Vani he manifested, is the very form of the original goddess of transcendent knowledge, Saraswati. That Vani is indeed Siddhanta Vani, or Siddhanta Saraswati. By studying the example Śrīla Thakur set in his own life, as well as by studying the sacred text written by him and the direct continuation of his transcendental message, the Vani Parampara, we learn that without taking shelter of the immaculate instructions received through the succession of bona fide gurus, or of the irrefutable evidence of Vedic sound vibration, Shabda Praman, we cannot bring delight, vinod, to Satchidananda Bhakti. With this in mind, and with the sole aim of worshipping Śrīla Thakur for his satisfaction, we exclusively take shelter of Siddhanta Vani, Siddhanta Saraswati, and respectfully offer ourselves to his lotus feet. So remember, there's a dual meaning every time he's mentioning this. So we could only bring Vinod to Satchidananda Bhakti, which is Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, by taking shelter of the Siddhanta Vani, these instructions, this Bhaktivinoda Dhara. And also, it means by taking shelter of Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. There's a dual meaning there. Okay. Tate Krishna bhaje kore gurur sevan, Maya jala chute pai Krishna racharan. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 22-25. Therefore, the entangled jivas should absorb themselves in Krishna bhajan and simultaneously do Guru Seva. Then only will they be released from the net of Maya and finally attain the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. Characteristics of some of Śrīla Thakura's relatives and acquaintances. On many occasions, I have heard people say that when Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura was in the Grihastha ashram, they had been his very close relative. They wanted to show that they had been intimate with him and familiar with his identity. Simply hearing this recount, my most venerable Acharya Dev, Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur would say, they could never even see him, let alone be near him or know his real identity. In Jaiva Dharma, written by Śrīla Thakur himself, in the 15th chapter entitled Prameya, Jiva Tattva, we have learned the significance of such statements and the benefits they give when they ultimately bear fruit. Therein we find the following analysis. Both mind and speech have their origin in inert matter, and they cannot be made to touch transcendental objects despite the greatest endeavor. The Vedas declare, Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. Speech and mind return unsuccessful in their attempt to reach Brahma. Śrīla Thakur warned us continuously. It is impossible to obtain knowledge of transcendental objects through gross and subtle senses. Śrīla Thakur is himself Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda, the Satchidananda form who brings delight to the personification of bhakti. So what question is there of him having a material covering? It is completely impossible for the gross body with its external senses or the subtle body to approach him or comprehend his identity, and it would defy all logic to claim that they could. He is a noble and exalted personality, a Mahapurush, who is eternally liberated, Nitya Mukta, and beyond mortality, Ati Martya. Mortal living beings who are bound by the illusory material energy are completely unable to form any conception about who he is. Realizing Śrīla Thakur's quality of being beyond mortality. The manner in which Śrīla Thakur has demonstrated how to reflect on Jiva Tattva within the 15th chapter of Jaiva Dharma makes evident his qualities of immortality and omniscience. He has exposed various irrational arguments for rejecting the blissful activities of spiritual life. He has exposed, I misunderstood this way. He has exposed various irrational arguments for rejecting the blissful activities of spiritual life based on fear of the attempts to enjoy transient matter, which appears to be similar. He has informed us that to bring about true divination of an object, total and pervasive knowledge about it, as well as guidance from superior counsel, are necessary. In this context, one may put forth the argument, seeing a pearl in an empty oyster shell, and mistaking a rope for a snake, to establish the phenomenal world is a total falsity. But these contradict fundamental axioms. From these astonishing insights of Śrīla Thakur, I am realizing his position as the Ati Martya, immortal Acharya. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura is the Acharya. Even within the field of traditional philosophical deliberation, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura is the Acharya in every sense of the word. By virtue of his literary contributions to the field of philosophy, such as his commentaries, Vedanta Bhashya, Upanishad Bhashya, Sahasranam Bhashya, and Gita Bhashyam, it is easily apprehensible to us that without a doubt he is situated on the most elevated platform within the community of ācāryas. Formerly, Śrīla Baladev Vijayabhushan obliterated the controversy that sprang from the unfounded charge that Gaudiya Vaishnavas, for lack of a formal commentary, were not authentic adherents to Vedanta. Subsequently, Śrīla Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda arose as the most exalted and noble personality to reform the Gaudiya Vaishnava society. And yet, we cannot see the entire manifestation of Śrīla Ṭhākura's contribution, because many of his treatises are hitherto unpublished. Therefore, it would be an act of great beneficence upon the entire world for noble-hearted seekers of the truth to endeavor to publish this literature. Śrīla Satchidananda Thakura's delineation of true benevolence, Parupakar. The false concept that the living entity, the jiva, is a temporarily covered or reflected form of Bhagavan, and the proposition that real benevolence means to free the jiva from sat asat vilakshan anirvachaniya. Whoa, it's like a flying grasshopper. Sorry. Okay, the false concept that the jiva is a temporarily covered or reflected form of Bhagavan, and the proposition that real benevolence means to free the jiva from sat asat vilakshan anirvachaniya. That means Mayavadis consider Maya, the basis of the material world, to be neither sat, real, nor asat, unreal. Thus they claim Maya is inexplicable, anirvachaniya. Okay. The proposition that real benevolence means to free the jiva from that, and reinstate him as Bhagavan, completely differs from the knowledge we have acquired from this most elevated ācāryas' teachings about benevolence. The purpose of Śrīla Ṭhākura's commentaries is to establish the jivas on the platform of absolute truth by fixing their faith in the reality of their eternal devotional existence. The word para, supreme, in para upakar, benevolence, indicates an object's beginningless, natural attribute of being the greatest. Actions that seek to nullify the real greatness of the living entity cannot be called benevolent. That entity who is fully saturated by eternal bliss, Nityananda, is truly para, and real benevolence to the jivas awards him the fruit of becoming fully established in eternal bliss. What is the use of accepting the existence of knowledge, gyan, but denying the existence of the possessor of knowledge, gyata? How can such conceptions benefit the conscious soul? The living entity is inherently made of happiness, ananda, but if he becomes spiritually inactive by negating ultimate reality along with his own existence, who will remain to experience that happiness, and to whom will benevolence be shown? Śrīla Ṭhākura condemns such so-called benevolence as contemptuous. He did not accept it as benevolence at all, because in relation to their conception of the falseness of commonly experienced reality, the phenomenal world, vyavaharik mithya vastu, even their concept of true happiness as the experience of oneness with the absolute reality, Brahma, becomes a symbol of falseness and devoid of bliss. However, the actual principle of mistaking a rope to be a snake has nothing to do with the explanation given by the Mayavadis. Snakes and rope are both real, and in order to mistake a rope for a snake, one must have had prior experience of both. In poor light, a person mistakes the rope to be a snake because his mind superimposes his prior impression of a snake onto the rope. Someone who has never actually seen a snake, such as an infant, cannot mistake a rope for a snake. Therefore, it is concluded that there is no possibility of some inexplicable third category like the Mayavadis' sat asat anirvachaniya, which they use to explain Maya. The achievement of temporary fruit is not the goal of benevolence. If the result of an action is undoubtedly seen to have a non-nature, then seeking opportunities to engage in it or becoming subservient to it is not in accordance with the explanation of benevolence given by Śrīla Ṭhākura, nor any of his teachings. In his analysis of the results of action, he has apprised us that only attainment of the absolute truth bestows the highest limit of ananda in the intrinsic nature and the sarup of the living entity. Indeed, with a desire to attain that highest limit of bliss, the jivas accept the flickering happiness of gross and subtle material nature as the ultimate goal of life, prayojan. Such temporariness is never included in the conception of benevolence taught by Śrīla Ṭhākura. The fruit of this so-called benevolence gradually dwindles until it becomes so weak that it can no longer be detected. It withers away to such an extent that it is at last destroyed, and one sorrowfully realizes that it was completely insignificant. Attainment of prayojan essentially depends on mercy, not on one's own sadhana. The process that leads one to finally obtain the ultimate goal, the prayojan, as conceived by Śrīla Ṭhākura, successively bestows both the ability to perform sadhana and later the sadhya itself. And there's a footnote here. Initially, one obtains the ability to do āradhana, loving worship, in the stage of sadhana, by mercy. And later, mercy alone gives the result of that sadhana, the sadhya, or prem bhakti. Hence, attainment of the prayojan completely depends on mercy. Okay. Where were we? Okay. Certainly, by definition, the word sadhya means that which can be attained through performing sadhana, and is thus dependent on sadhana. Nevertheless, by hearing the teachings of Śrīla Ṭhākura on the final object of attainment, sadhya vastu, from the mouth of Siddhanta Vani, we can understand that the sadhya vastu is in reality beyond the reach of sadhana. Thus, attainment of the goal, sadhya, is actually dependent on the mercy of the absolute truth, tattva vastu. Moreover, the imperfections of language are bound to interfere while expressing the definition of the word sadhya. 8. From the viewpoint of an etymologist, the word sadhya indicates that which can be attained through performing sadhana, and is thus dependent on sadhana. But in reality, the attainment of the sadhya is beyond the reach of sadhana. Thus it is clear that the imperfections of language are interfering with the actual definition of sadhya. It is concluded that, in all respects, sadhya manifests through āradhana, loving worship. It is stated in Vedanta Sutra 3.2.24, Api samradhane pratyakshanumanabhyam. In all respects, it is by the power of subservience to Srimati Radharani. That is by subservience to Srimati Radharani that the living entities become established on the platform of Vishuddha Sattva, pure spiritual energy, and thus behold the absolute truth. That absolute truth becomes directly visible before them, pratyaksha, and is the basis and substance of all their thoughts, anuman. In other words, the absolute truth becomes the object of their cultivation of constant endeavors to serve, anushilan, as well as the object of their constant meditation, dhyan. And there's a footnote that says, directly visible, pratyaksha, is parallel to the cultivation of constant endeavors to serve, anushilan. And the basis and substance of all their thoughts, anuman, is parallel to constant meditation, dhyan. In the absence of perfect loving worship, or pure devotion, Shuddha Bhakti, the conscious being, due to misuse of his free will, finds himself in the presence of mundane perception and false knowledge. Anushilan of the Absolute Truth is in fact the procedures of devotional service, abhideya. From the Vedanta Sutra 3.2.26, Prakashas Chakarmanyabhyasat, we can learn the actual conception of Anushilan the cultivation of constant endeavors to serve Bhagavan. This Anushilan is completely different from fruit of work, karma, or regular studies of abhyas. Rather, this sutra is a mantra that dispels the misconception that merely accumulating knowledge is the means to attain the desired goal. In a practical sense, one cannot attain one's desired fruit simply by gaining proficient knowledge about a particular subject matter. The only means to obtain it is to engage in Anushilan. To engage in Anushilan with great earnestness. In the same way, mere knowledge cannot actually bring us within direct proximity of the Absolute Truth. The Absolute Truth will manifest to us only after we properly engage in its Anushilan again and again. Therefore, the meaning of Prakashas cha in this sutra is manifestation of the Absolute Truth, and the meaning of Karmanyabhasat is the results that can be obtained by engaging in Anushilan again and again. In every sacred text by Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, we will discover this truth by deliberating on the chapters in which Abhidheya, the spiritual process, is discussed. Śrīla Ṭhākura appeared in Viranagar. Rather than attempting to speak something about Śrīla Ṭhākura Satchidananda independently, we should take shelter of Siddhanta Vani. Only then will we be able to truly know him completely. What Jagadguru Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada has revealed to us in his introduction to Jaiva Dharma is the sole essence of what we should learn about Śrīla Ṭhākura. There he revealed that the place of appearance of Chaitanya Vastu, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Advaita Vastu, Sri Advaita Acharya, is also the very place of appearance of Satchid Ananda Vastu, Śrīla Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. Such amazing oneness, saturated with speciality, is especially observed in Atma Tattva, spiritual reality. Furthermore, he manifested his pastime of appearing to the world in a place called Viranagar in Godadesh. This is fitting, for it is impossible for spiritual reality to manifest anywhere that lacks spiritual strength, bal. The literal meaning of Vir is strength, and the meaning of Nagar is town or city, so Vir Nagar. That's neat. All dualities converge in perfect harmony within the Aprakrit Tattva alone. Despite my desire to become purified by discussing many more topics about Śrīla Ṭhākura, I fear my doing so will make this article too lengthy. I have thus concluded here by briefly mentioning his appearance, even though it is the day of his disappearance. Such a contradiction may seem inconsistent from the ordinary perspective, but considering the third sutra of Śrīla Ṭhākura's sacred book Tattva Sutra, Viruddhadharmam tasmin nachitram, the existence of contradicting attributes in the Supreme Absolute Truth is in no way astonishing, for it is entirely natural in him. So, through that statement, we come to know that in the Aprakrit and the supermundane Satchidananda Vastu, the beautiful harmony of all contrary attributes is eternally present. Apart from this, the appearance and disappearance of the Mahajans both serve the same purpose. Therefore, the disappearance day, the day of separation, is also a day of celebration. This Amavasya is indeed a most auspicious tithi, for it has granted the illumination of great auspiciousness. That's too long of I'm not going to read that. Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namane Gaura Shakti Sarupaya Rupanuga Varayate. I offer my pranam unto Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, the exalted personality who brings delight to Bhakti Devi, Bhakti Vinod, and who is known by the name Satchidananda, because he is the embodiment of pure eternal reality, cognizance, and bliss. He is the personification of Shri Gaura's internal potency, Shri Gadādhara Pandit, and he is the foremost Rupanuga Vaishnava. Oh, fine, I'll read it. Okay, the lunar day of the new moon is called Amavasya. It is the last day of the waning moon, and it leaves the night completely dark. Therefore, with respect to mundane considerations, it is an inauspicious tithi. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Keshav Goswami Maharaj has concluded by reconciling the apparent contradiction of auspiciousness and inauspiciousness. The event of Śrīla Ṭhākura's disappearance, although apparently leaving the world in darkness, is a most auspicious celebration due to the special opportunity to remember and glorify him. Thus, this dark tithi, the day of separation from Śrīla Ṭhākura, has become illuminated by auspiciousness. Okay, so it's already past 9 o'clock. But yeah, we just see with how much reverence our ācāryas glorify Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. You know, because so many devotees, when they glorify Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, they talk about his life and, you know, his whole, they talk about his transformation, his whole process of becoming a devotee. But we see how our ācāryas, how carefully and how reverentially they glorify Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, so that we don't think of him as an ordinary person. So many people glorify Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, and you get like an impression of him as being an ordinary person. I think that's why they give so much emphasis on this. Okay, I'm going to sing this song, Bhaktivinoda Shri Gaura Swajan, but it's getting late, and so I don't... fine, I'll read the translation. Okay. No, I'm not going to read the translation, it's too late. So you can sing along and read the translation, while I'm singing, if you like. Or you can sing and look at the word for word, whatever. Oh, and let me look at the comments. Okay, thanks, Rup Manjari. Yeah, we can all read. Kathā Bhaktivinoda. I'll sing it a bit lower. Kathā Bhaktivinoda Shri Gaura Swajan Krishna Premadite Eshe Chile Marte Manavira Saje Karuna Karan Kathā Bhaktivinoda Shri Gaura Swajan Kathā Bhaktivinoda Shri Gaura Swajan Jabe Dharma Viplavera Amanisha Gore Susupta Manava Vyabhichara Kare Antaryami Prabhur Hridaya Vidare Jivera Dukhite Koriya Krandan Kathā Bhaktivinoda Shri Gaura Swajan Tokon Gaura Gaganera Udaya Girite Udile ācārya Mangala Ushate Gaura Mano Bhishtastapiya Vishvete Ajnanandakara Korile Mochan Kathā Bhaktivinoda Shri Gaura Swajan Kathā Bhaktivinoda Shri Gaura Swajan Prema Prayojan Vigrahato Mito Mahan Pumarta Prem Mahan Pumarta Prema Mula Mantra Shata Grante Patre Korile Vibrita Namai Sadasar Namai Sadan Kathā Bhakti Vinod Shri Gaura Sajan Kota Bhakti Vinod Shri Gaura Sajan Shuddha Namayar Namaya Parad Vishleshite Yache Tava Granta Maja Deki Stabdi Bhuta Sajana Samaj Koti Kante Kore Tava Guna Gan Bhuta Bhakti Vinod Shri Gaura Sajan Kota Bhakti Vinod Shri Gaura Sajan Sahaja Sarala Amrita Varshini Bhava Bhasha Bhara Tomar Lekani Pratipatre Chatre Siddhanta Samani Shastra Sindhu Chani Kore Chochayan Kota Bhakti Vinod Shri Gaura Sajan Kota Bhakti Vinod Shri Gaura Sajan Shri Krishna Samhita Sajana Toshani Shikshamrita Hari Nama Chintamani Shri Sharanagati Shri Krishna Karshani Jaiva Dharme Jive Sarupastapan Kota Bhakti Vinod Shri Gaura Sajan O Mahaprabhur Shiksha Gita Baligan Gita Mala Prem Pradipaya Kyan Kalpataru Raje Viraje Kalyan Aparayananta Tava Puridan Kota Bhakti Vinod Shri Gaura Sajan Shri Vishva Vaishnava Rajasabhayar Dhamma Pracharini Sangsad Tomar Unata Shirashe Dhamma Maya Pura Tavaya Parthiva Kirti Tava Aparthiva Kirti Kore Vigoshan Kota Bhakti Vinod Shri Gaura Sajan Kota Bhakti Vinod Shri Gaura Sajan Tava Snehadhara Samvardita Jara Bhuloke Koloka Nivasita Hara Vitarishinam Sudhara Sudhara Bhavadavanala Kore Nirvapan Kota Bhakti Vinod Shri Gaura Sajan Kota Bhakti Vinod Shri Gaura Sajan Tumi Kalatita Nitya Chirvilasa Tattva Vada Jiva Pakhe Agamya Nitanta Kemone Varni Boyo Viraha Tattva Jeno Aivancha Pangur Parvatalangan Kota Bhakti Vinod Shri Gaura Sajan Kota Bhakti Vinod Shri Gaura Sajan Nahi karma bal Nahi jnana bal Na jani bhakti Mora sudurba Tava padareno Tava padajal Tava padareno Tava padajal hok Sadana sambal Bhuvana pavan Kota Bhakti Vinod Shri Gaura Sajan Kotha Bhaktivinoda Shri Gaura Sajan Ke bujibe tomar Gambhira Swabhav Shri Radhara Krishna Gadādhara Koti koti jane karo daya bhag Tava pada juge e nivedan kotha Bhaktivinoda Shri Gaura Sajan Kotha Bhaktivinoda Shri Gaura Sajan Bhaktivinoda Krishna Vinodite Eniche prapanche Shira Dadaite Sadho Vishwavasi Oi pada prante Anukula Krishna Bhajana Vigyan Anukula Krishna Bhajana Vigyan Kotha Bhaktivinoda Shri Gaura Sajan Bhaktivinoda Shri Gaura Sajan Aaj bhange o bharate Pashyate na kare Pujari pujiche Yogya upachare Atma pushpanjali Sankirtana dare Atma pushpanjali Sankirtana dare O pada puja kori jache kripa O pada puja kori jache kripa kana kotha Bhaktivinoda Shri Gaura Sajan Bhaktivinoda Shri Gaura Sajan. Okay. So hopefully you were able to read along. I tried singing the refrain a couple times so that you had time to read the translation. Oh man, this glorification of Srila Tripurkam Goswami Maharaj is so beautiful. He was also like crying while he was speaking this. If you see the video, he's like breaking down, crying throughout this whole time. Let's just read it because it's so short. So this is Srila Tripurkam Goswami Maharaj. Morning speech at Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's Samadhi, Swananda Sukara Kunj, Bodrum. A prayer for his mercy. Although I am very unfortunate, at the same time I am extremely fortunate, because on the strength of the mercy of Sri Guru and the Vaishnavas, I am participating in this Dham Parikrama. Many of us have no proper understanding or realization of this Dham, this Parikrama, and the Sankirtan pastimes that took place here. Only by the mercy of Sri Guru is it possible for the heart of the jiva to have such realization. The great personality who has mercifully manifested the sarup of this Dham before us is Sachidananda Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. We have assembled at his bhajan stali. Our exclusive prayer to him is that he bestow his mercy upon us. By his mercy, we can enter the realm of bhakti. In particular, we will understand the pastimes of Sriman Mahaprabhu, who is the embodiment of magnanimity. It is only by Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's kindness that we can understand something of this. Had he not come, a hellish worm like me would remain forever deprived of his gift. This is certainly true. His immortal writings and message sustain our life and soul. He is eternal. Therefore we pray that he will bestow his mercy upon us, understanding the anguish in our hearts. Since I am bereft of tattva gyan, I have nothing else to say. I pray that he is merciful so that I can become eligible to realize these subject matters. Evening class at Sri Devananda Gaudiya Math. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's Gaura Shakti. Who was Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura? He came in a certain year and he left in a certain year. If we base our understanding of who he is on such information, we will not understand or realize his actual nature, his prakrita tattva. But we know that he is non-different from Sri Gadādhara Pandit, Gadādhara Abhina Tattva. And we know that Srila Gadādhara Pandit is the very potency of Sri Gaur. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura is Shakti Shakti Matayor Abheda. That is, Shakti, potency, and Shaktiman, the possessor of potency, are non-different. Therefore, since Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura is Shakti, he is non-different from Shaktiman. So it is therefore possible for him. It is therefore possible for him only to bestow upon us the complete identity of Shaktiman. It's only possible for him, like only he can bestow this onto us, and thus make us aware of Shaktiman Tattva. If such Shakti, the most intimate Shakti, the most dear Shakti, the most capable Shakti of Shaktiman, if that did not exist, then we would never be able to understand the reality of Shaktiman. It was for this reason that Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura came, to inform this world of the intrinsic nature, or the swarup, of the Lord's potency, as well as the intrinsic nature of Shaktiman. It was not possible for anybody else to reveal this Gaur Dham and Gaur Tattva. Sri Bhagavan is non-different from his Shakti. There are so many Shaktis, Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Shuryate. But there's only one Parashakti, and this Parashakti has various manifestations. Shvetashvatar Upanishad 6.8. The capability to obtain thorough knowledge of absolute reality, Tattva Vastu, is possible only for Shakti, which is very close to Bhagavan, united with him, and absorbed in him. From his writings alone, we can somewhat understand his identity. The words emanating from his lips are the transcendental holy name, Nam Brahman, or transcendental sound vibration, Shabda Brahma. They are not mundane sound vibration, Jara Shabda. As a result of that Shabda Brahma alone, we see that so many people have assembled here for Navadvip Dham Parikrama. Therefore, we begin our parikrama from Godrum by first taking shelter of him. If he is merciful, then only can we have some understanding and conception about who is our worshipful deity, our Aradhya Tattva, our Upasya Tattva. Jai Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura ki Jai. There's so much to read about him and his articles also. Anyways, if anybody can, Rup Manjari, she put the link to this magazine in the comments. It's a really beautiful magazine, Rays of the Harmonious magazine. I wanted to read about Gadādhara Pandit, but it is so late now. And I wanted to read this, excerpts in Śrīla Gadādhara Pandit. I'm just going to read one part, just so that we at least have done a little glorification of Gadādhara Pandit. So I'm not reading from the beginning, I'm just going to read from, I don't know, somewhere in the middle. Okay. This is, my Guru spoke this in Jagannath Puri, 2001, October 7. One should not think that when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took Srimati Radhika's bhav, she became zero. In a drama, someone may take the part of someone else who is present in the audience. That second person has not become zero. Someone may play Radha and Krishna, and Radha and Krishna may also be present watching. Similarly, when Lord Krishna took the bhav of Radhika and became Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, she was also present watching in the form of Sri Gadādhara Pandit. Radhika came in the form of Sri Gadādhara. It is extremely important to know Gadādhara Tattva, the established philosophical truths of Sri Gadādhara Pandit. There is no difference between Sri Gadādhara Pandit and Srimati Radhika, but the activities are different in Krishna's pastimes and Gaura's pastimes. In Gaur Leela, Sri Gadādhara Pandit is in the mood of a servant. No gopi, including Chandravali, Lalita, and Vishaka, is qualified to experience Srimati Radhika's Madanakya Mahabhav, her supermost ecstatic love. Krishna experiences the ecstatic loving moods of Rudha and Adiruddha, but not Madanakya Mahabhav. Sri Gadādhara Pandit, on the other hand, has Madanakya Mahabhav. In Gaur Leela, however, it is covered, so that Gadādhara Pandit can help Krishna to play the part of Srimati Radhika. In the form of Sri Gadādhara Pandit, Srimati Radhika is looking and examining, and if there is something wrong in Krishna as Mahaprabhu, she corrects it. Sri Gadādhara Pandit is Srimati Radhika, and he therefore has up to Madanakya Mahabhav, but he wants to serve Mahaprabhu. He wants to do what Krishna wants, and thus he covers this Madhurya Bhav. Sri Gadādhara Pandit knows what Mahaprabhu wants. Mahaprabhu wants to play the part of Srimati Radhika. Right from the beginning, he is in Srimati Radha's mood, and he is chanting, Krishna Prananath, my beloved Krishna. He came here to Tota Gopinath to hear Srimad Bhagavatam from Sri Gadādhara Pandit, Srimati Radhika, to learn better how to play her part. In its deepest understanding, Srimad Bhagavatam is really the glories of Srimati Radhika's moods. Vande Nanda Vrajastrinam Pada Renum Abhikshnasa Yasyam Hari Kator Gitam Punati Bhuvanachayam. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:47-63. I repeatedly offer my respects to the dust from the lotus feet of the women of Nanda Maharaja's cowherd village. When these gopis loudly chant the glories of Sri Krishna, the vibration purifies the three worlds. Why did Mahaprabhu come to hear from Sri Gadādhara Pandit? Since Sri Gadādhara Pandit is Srimati Radharani, he was able to explain her moods, described in Srimad Bhagavatam. The explanations of Gadādhara Pandit are the highest explanations and glorification of her mood. His explanations will be greater than those of Vyas, Shukadev, and Krishna himself. Mahaprabhu came here to know the glories of all the gopis, and especially Srimati Radhani. Shri Gopya Uchu, Akshan Patam Palamidam na param vidama sakya pasun anuvisheshayator vayasyai Vaktram Brajesha Sutayor Anuvenu Jushtam Yarva Nipitam Anurakta Kataksha Moksham. It's the 7th verse of Venugita. The gopis began to speak among themselves. O Sakis, we think that for those who have eyes, there is but one thing which is a suitable object of vision. Success of the eyes lies in beholding this object alone. We know of no other. And what is that most precious object of attachment for the eyes? It is the vision of the two sons of Maharaj Nanda, Shri Krishna and Baladev, accompanied by the Gopas, as they enter the forest taking the cows, or as they bring them back to Vrindavan. They hold their flutes to their lips and look upon us with mild smiles and amorous sidelong glances filled with love. At that time, we drink the sweetness of their faces. This verse in Venugita of Srimad Bhagavatam is spoken by Srimati Radhika and the gopis when Krishna goes cowherding. Shri Krishna is behind and Baladev is ahead. Krishna is playing on his flute and searching for Srimati Radhika. Srimati Radhika comes and takes his flute, and she begins looking at her, and he begins looking at her with sidelong glances. If Srimati Radhika explains this pastime herself, saying, "My mood was such and such," it is surely the best explanation. Mrigayor iva kapindram vivyade lupta dharma striyamakrita virupam strijita kamayanam palamapi balamatva vestaya tvangskava ivadyas taralamasita sakyar dushyajastad katartha. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:47-17. Like a hunter, he cruelly shot the king of the monkeys with arrows. Because he was conquered by a woman, he disfigured another woman who came to him with amorous desires. And even after consuming the gifts of Bali Maharaj, he bound him up with ropes as if he were a crow. So let us give up all friendship with this dark-complexioned boy, even if we can't give up talking about him. This verse and the one below were uttered by Srimati Radhika at Uddhav when Krishna was residing in Mathura. The deepest meanings of these verses were revealed to Mahaprabhu by Gadādhara Pandit Prabhu. Yadanu charita lila karna piyusha viprut sakridadana vidutta dvanda dharma vinasta saparigriha kutumbam dinamutsrijadina bahava iha vihanga bhikshucharyam charanti. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:47-18. To hear about the pastimes that Krishna regularly performs is nectar for the ears. For those who relish just a single drop of that nectar, even once, their dedication to material duality is ruined. Many such persons have suddenly given up their wretched homes and families, and, themselves becoming wretched, traveled here to Vrindavan to wander about like birds, begging for their living. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came here to hear, and when he heard, he fainted. Both he and Sri Gadādhara Pandit fainted. Gadādhara Pandit knew that by Mahaprabhu's hearing from him, Mahaprabhu would become more perfect to play Srimati Radhika's part. Srimati Radhika is the principal in the school of Srimad Bhagavatam, in the course of tasting its meanings. There were 3.5 confidential associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Gambhira. Why was Sri Gadādhara Pandit not one of them? He is superior to these other 3.5 confidential associates. This is a hidden secret. If Sri Gadādhara Pandit were there, Mahaprabhu's separation mood would not have come. In association with Srimati Radhika, he would have thought himself to be Krishna. Okay, I'm going to end here. I'll just finish this last part. This is spoken in a darshan in Jagannath Puri 2001. Gadādhara Pandit is always serving Krishna. In Krishna Lila, whatever Krishna wishes, Srimati Radhika always serves him more than Dravali, Lalita, Vishaka, and all others. Her mood is to satisfy Krishna. In Mahaprabhu Lila, because Krishna wants to relish his own self, he takes Radhika's mood, and she responds accordingly. He wants that, so I should not disturb him. If I help him in this will be my service. Do you understand? When Mahaprabhu was calling, Krishna, Krishna, O Prananath, Radhika was there, but as an obedient servant. She was in a dakshina, a submissive mood. The relationship of das, servant, always constitutes a dakshina mood. Sri Gadādhara Pandit was even more dakshina than Rukmini. Rukmini sometimes had man, transcendental loving anger or sulky mood, but Sri Gadādhara Pandit was not like that. If he had been in Vamya, a left-wing or unsubmissive mood, it would have been unfavorable to the mood of Krishna as Mahaprabhu. Gadādhara Pandit was always thinking, I am his servant. If he had said to Mahaprabhu, my dear Krishna, my dear beloved, Mahaprabhu's mood would have been disturbed. Tungavidya Didi. That was in Puri, but what was the mood in Navadvip? Srila Gurudev. In Navadvip also. At that time, Gauranga was also calling out, Krishna, Krishna, not Radha, Radha. But at that time, he was untrained. He was not yet admitted into the school of Vishaka, Sri Sarup Damodar. At that time also, Gadādhara Pandit was always served as an obedient servant, covering all his moods as Srimati Radhika. Tungavidya. Are Mahaprabhu and Gadādhara Pandit in the same mood in Nitya Navadvip Dham as well? Srila Gurudev. Same mood. Gauranga was not in the mood of Nagar, Krishna as the male lover. We never accept him as Nagar. Yeah, we never accept a Gauranga Nagar. That's an Apasampradaya. Alright, Shri Gadādhara Pandit ki jai. I'll just do a very quick Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Gaur Gadādhara, Jaya Gaur Gadādhara, Gaur Gadādhara, Jaya Gaur Gadādhara, Jaya Sachinand, Jaya Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari, Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Ju ki Jai, Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad, Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Narayan Goswami Maharaj Śrīla Gurudev ki Jai, Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad, Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad, Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Swami Maharaj Śrīla Prabhupada ki Jai, Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad, Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad, Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai, Nitil Pravishta Mahabhagavat Śrīla Gokshara Babaji Maharaj ki Jai, Nitil Pravishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura ki Jai, Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai, Shri Rupa Gauriya Guru Varga ki Jai, Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Shad Goswami Prabhu ki Jai, Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gopal Shad Vrinda ki Jai, Namacharya Śrīla Haridas Ṭhākura ki Jai, Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadādhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Bhaja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki Jai, Sarva Abhishta Bhadata Giriraj Maharaj ki Jai, Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund ki Jai, Shri Manu Devi Ganga Devi ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Devi ki Jai, Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya ki Jai, Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Bhagirath, Shri Saktang Goswami, Shri Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura ki Jai, Tadiya Shubha Tirubhav Titi Mahamahotsav ki Jai, Shri Gadādhara Pandit ki Jai, Gadādhara Pandit Tirubhav Titi ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai, Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Shri Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Brindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Padadevi Sattavatai Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat Pranams. Thank you for joining. Oh God, there's so much to read about Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. It's really anyways. But we can't read forever, but I'd love to just read for 5 hours straight. There's so much to read, but anyhow, this is just a little something, a drop of his glories. And the way that our ācāryas glorify these personalities, it's not, lots of time, like it's so lofty, their glorifications, and that's the way that we glorify them, not just in any ordinary way, but really understanding their his Satchidananda nature, how we can't actually understand his glory through words, through material words. Anyways, I'm going to stop. All right, see you all tomorrow morning if you come for the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Tomorrow we're going to do a Nagar Sankirtan in Godrumadweep, starting 10:30 from Mayapur, from the Ghat, from Mayapur to Godrum, that Ghat. We're going to start a Nagar Sankirtan there, and then we're going to, this is being done for the World Nagar Sankirtan Day, and we're gonna live stream it. Janaki Mataji, she's arranging this, and there's devotees from ISKCON coming, and a lot of our devotees from our Keshavji Gaudiya Math here, and we're all gonna get together, do Nagar Sankirtan all the way to Swananda Sukara Kunj, and then there at Swananda Sukara Kunj we're also gonna do many kirtans, and then we'll take prasad there, lunch prasad there. That's the program tomorrow. All right, Haribol. So yeah, we'll be going live though in the morning time, 10:30. Haribol.